Good morning, everybody. Hope you've had a good week, got a good weekend planned, and appreciate you being here today. If you will, like, share, comment on the post, and then if you choose, you can join me in the fourth chapter of the book of Philippians. We'll be looking at the sixth verse as we come into one of the most beloved sections of the book, one of the great sections of this little letter. Paul says in verse 6, "Do not be anxious about anything." Some of you are saying, "Yeah, right." But in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your request be made known to God. And so Paul is giving us here the solution to worry. Don't do it. And I know most of us are thinking that's much easier said than done. But he tells us how then not to do it. Don't do it. Don't be anxious. Don't worry about anything. But instead, he says, you pray about everything. You take everything to God. You go to him with all of those things and draw on his strength, his resources to deal with those things that are concerning us. And every time, Paul is saying, every time, and listen, let me just say something real quick here. I'm not telling you I got this figured out. I'm just telling you what Paul told us to do, but I'm still working on it with you. Paul says every time you feel a little worry coming on, every time you feel a little anxiety, a little trouble, he says, don't let it get to you. He says when you feel that trouble, that anxiety, that fear coming, see that as God calling you to pray. God telling us, hey, it's time. You need to pray. A great principle for us. Again, I understand it's difficult to do. I understand how hard it is not to worry. But when we feel that worry coming, we feel that trouble coming, we need to see that as as the lights going off for prayer. I remember, and this may be a horrible illustration of this point, but going back in all the way back to the seventh grade, seemed like 100 years ago. When we would go into the cafeteria, and some of you, I hope you do anyway, remember those good homemade, fresh yeast rolls, dinner rolls that they would make in the school cafeteria, or at least in Kannapolis at the time. And we knew usually there was going to be some extra, and that the baker, the cook in the kitchen, ever so often would come out with a pan that she'd just brought out of the oven and set those rolls down, and it was first come, first served. And so the whole time we were eating lunch with one eye cocked towards the kitchen, just watching. We knew who she was, we knew what she looked like, and we knew her routine, and we were eating with one eye on our food and one eye on the kitchen, and just waiting and for that opportunity. And as soon as you saw her come around the corner with that pan, you could see half the cafeteria jump up and take off running up there to be in the front of the line and get one of those, at least one, if not a couple, of those fresh rolls right out of the oven. That was, we were just looking for that opportunity. We were chomping at the bit for that. And maybe that's a poor illustration, but I think that's what Paul is saying to us here about worry, that we should be going through our life kind of watching the kitchen, keeping an eye out for anything that might trouble us, anything that might worry us, anything that might bring anxiety in our life. And when we see it coming, just like a bunch of teenagers seeing that pan of hot rolls, when we see it coming, we go straight to the Lord in prayer. We don't wait till it gets overwhelming. We don't wait till we're beat down and don't know what else to do. That instead of being our last resource, it is our first resource. We've all seen that old sign adage that says, "When all else fails, follow the directions." Well, isn't that kind of a lousy sign? When we've tried everything else, follow the directions. Shouldn't that sign say, before everything else fails, follow the directions? When we sense worry, when we sense trouble coming on in our life, when we see it just around the corner, when we know, maybe you know, here we are. In September, I hate to say it, Thanksgiving and Christmas isn't that far off. Maybe you know some of your family gatherings. They can be stressful sometimes, and you know that you've got that one relative or that one situation that just kind of works your nerves. Before you get there, before your nerves get worked, go ahead and start praying. You know you got a big meeting coming up at work. Before that meeting goes off the rails, pray that we see these opportunities. Don't be anxious about anything, but in everything, we make our request known to Him. Don't wait till it's too big. Don't wait till it completely falls apart. When we see it coming, we take it to the Lord in prayer. Let's see worry as instead of a negative, let's see it as a positive, as a call to prayer. The Muslims have every 4 hours, I believe it is, they have a call to prayer. You've probably heard that that they blare all over through the loudspeakers all over the countries. Let's see worry as a call to prayer and take it to the Lord before it gets completely out of shape. You keep that in mind today. See your worry, see your trouble as a call to pray.